And now, go ahead. Let's see what happens.
All right. Hello. My name is Casey O'Leary, and I am with the Commonwealth Seed Library here in Boise. And today I'm going to show you how to save tomato seeds. Tomatoes are cool because, well, here, let me cut this first, and then I'll show you. So the first step in this process is to cut your tomatoes in half crosswise and squeeze the seeds and the pulp into a container. And you can use the rest of the tomato to eat. I just put it in a blender and make it into sauce. And it takes a lot less time to cook down if you're a canner. It's a real pain in the neck, as you know, to cook down tomatoes to the point where they can be canned. So this process of saving seeds actually helps you get a lot of the water out of them before you even start canning. So you squeeze all this pulp and seeds into a jar. And the reason why you do this is because you have to let the tomato ferment. Tomato, if you've noticed, seeds have a gelatinous sac around them, which is designed to keep them from sprouting inside of their warm, wet fruit of a mother. So this fermentation process is what would happen naturally if a tomato seed were to fall on the ground. In nature, it would just, fungi and bacteria would come and decompose the coat on that seed so that the next season it could sprout and grow again. And we just simulate that process by allowing the seeds to ferment for a few days, open and uncovered. And that will break down that seed coat. Those same bacteria and fungi will come and break down the gelatinous sac surrounding the seed. This is a super messy process, if you can see. So it's best to do it outside. And once these things start to ferment, they actually get extremely stinky and moldy. So much better to leave that sitting outside as well. So I'm just gonna do all these here. This is gold medal is the variety we're saving today. And I'm squirting seeds all over the place. So if you're doing more than one variety, it's important to make sure that you clean all your knives and your cutting board and whatever in between. And I just make a general rule to never pick up any seeds off the table that have fallen, just in case. You never know, if you got one from a previous batch or what. But anyway, so I'm going to finish this. And I'm almost done, and then we'll move on to step 2. So you can just spit your seeds out into a napkin if you don't have time to do this process. The only thing is that you'll have a little lower germination rates. And this process of fermentation helps to kill any seed-borne diseases or bacteria that might be any seed-borne diseases. So it's actually like kind of a good sanitary procedure. And so a lot of people, like I had an old lady at the tomato tasting last Tuesday say, well, gosh, I know how to save seeds way easier than that. And it's true. You could just spit them out into a napkin or onto a piece of newspaper, and they'll dry out and you can save them. But there's a few things that doing it this way helps with. Okay, so now I'm going to label. Very important to label. You think that you will remember what they are, and you will not. So I make this mistake every year. I like to put the date so I remember what day I started these, so I know what day to finish the process, because they need to sit for 2 to 3 days. So I like to use this blue tape because you can stick it, take it off and re-stick it. It comes off easily. Okay, so anyway, we're gonna let that sit for 3 days now, and then pretend that it's 3 days later, and here we have this variety, which I don't want to, now that I have got seeds all over me, I don't want to mix anything together. So this next process is the decanting process. So basically, during the 3 days that this is sitting there, it's gonna start to stink, it's gonna get moldy, maybe some white mold will grow across the top. That's fine, it's perfectly normal, that's what you want. And then, once you've got that mold and whatnot, Then you go to the decanting process, which is much easier to do that outside, but since we're inside today, we're going to do it inside using buckets of water. Basically what decanting does, and this is the other benefit to using this method, is that decanting separates the mature seeds from the immature seeds, which you can't do by just spitting them out onto a napkin. You don't necessarily have any way of knowing when you look at the seed whether it's going to be viable or not. But what this process does is it allows you to separate the mature from the immature. So it's like magic. What will happen when you add a ton of water to your pulp? So this is key, lots and lots of water. As you add that, you fill up your jar with water. What will happen is the mature seeds will sink. Gosh, I got a little seed from our previous variety on there. I don't want to mix them up. The mature seeds will sink and the immature seeds and the pulp will float. And it might be difficult to see that in here on the camera, but what I'm doing is now I'm just going to pour off all the immature seeds and the pulp. And what we will be left with is only mature seeds. And this process can be a little nerve-wracking the first few times you do it because it's scary to see all your seeds possibly getting dropped out the front, but once you've done it a few times, you get used to it, and then you can just fly through it. So you just keep doing this until you get down to where you just have clean seed left. And if your seeds are not, if you're noticing they're still stuck to pieces of flesh, just get a spoon and mix it up really well, and that'll usually break them free of the flesh. So you just want to keep doing this over and over again. I'm trying to conserve water just because I don't want to go grab more right now, but with your own home, just keep filling this completely up. The more water you have, the easier it is. So I'm just going to keep pouring off seeds and pulp until I get to where I only have clean seed left. So what I'm doing is I'm getting rid of all my immature seeds. I've broken down that seed coat so I'll have better germination rates, or that seed sac, the gelatinous sac that's around the seed, so I'll have better germination rates. And I'm also helping to treat for any seed-borne diseases that might be in there. So see them, now it's a lot easier to see what's going on as they sink and the pulp floats. And just pour off anything that floats. You can assume it's not good. We get down all the way to where we've just got clean seed at the bottom. And at this point, I'm now going to put my seeds into a strainer, get all the excess water out of them. So, and you want to make sure you get all your seed out of the, so you've done all this work and you know those seeds are good now, so you want to make sure you get every little seed out of your jar. Okay, and then I usually just give them one final little rinse once they're in the strainer. It's easier with the hose, you can kind of spray them off. And then now you're just going to dry them. So now that their little sac has been fermented off, they're much more likely to sprout now. So you have to get them to dry pretty quickly. So if you wipe the bottom of the strainer off with the towel, that helps to wick away some excess moisture. And then you just put them onto a ceramic or a glass or whatever, a regular dish. Don't put them onto a paper towel or a napkin or something, because then it will stick to the paper towel or the napkin. And you just sort of spread them out as best you can, and then let them dry. Watch your fingers, especially if you're working with multiple varieties. Make sure you get every single seed off your fingers before you move on to the next variety. Because you've done all that work to keep them separated, and then you would have no way of knowing. Okay, and then the final step, which is super important, is to transfer your label onto the plate so you know what you have. And then I'll stir this plate probably one more time or two more times today. And then after I let it sit out for, a week or so, then I'll put it into a jar. And Usually I don't store my tomato seeds, or I don't store my seeds in tight jars I don't let them go into sealed jars for a long time, like months, just in case there's any excess moisture in there, because if you shut them up and there's excess moisture, they can mold or they can sprout or whatever. So anyway, that's it. Ta-da! Dippity-dee.